Are you looking for a spring-themed unit study? If so, you're going to want to stick around because in this video, I'm going to share one with you that your family is going to love. Hi, I'm Christy with Homeschooling in Progress, and my goal is to help you simplify your homeschool day. And one way you can do that is by choosing curriculum that covers several different subject areas. And this unit study that I'm going to share with you does just that. I'm going to be sharing with you a recent unit study that I did with my youngest that is from Sonlight, and it's their butterfly unit study. Everything that you need for this study comes in this box, except for the caterpillars. If you choose to do those you'll need to get separately. But it's so easy to use. So let me show you what we loved about it. First of all, we've used Sonlight in the past, and so I know that their instructor guides are fabulous. This is the instructor guide that comes with the butterfly study, and it's a 4-week study. And one thing I really liked about the way they set it up was that it went with the stages of the butterfly's life cycle. So the first week we talked about the egg, the next week we talked about the caterpillar itself, then we talked about when it forms a chrysalis or the pupa stage, and then finally the butterfly. So it was a really neat way to use the study to kind of go through the whole life cycle. So in the instructor's guide, each week is set up on one page, so you can just see at a glance what you're supposed to do each day. They tell you the reading that you're going to do, what books you're going to use, or any writing activities, vocabulary words you're going to talk about. Then you have the science part of it, which could be activity sheets, or it might be questions about the story that you're reading. And then finally, there are other activities like arts and crafts or geography, food. There are different snacks in here, and then a lap book that you can also do. And this study is designed for children that are ages 7 to 12. But I did this study with my science-loving 6-year-old, and he did great with it. And there are also options written in the instructor's guide to use with older children as well. So it's very versatile and something you could do with your entire family. So it's a great end-of-the-year activity, or even something that you could do in the summer. Because if you do live butterflies, if you get the caterpillars and watch them grow into butterflies, then you're going to want to let them go when the temperature is at least 55. So it is something you're going to want to do in the warmer months. And then, just like with, if you're familiar with other Sonlight instructor guides, they do have a more detailed section for each day that goes into more detail of questions you might ask or vocabulary words you might mention. It describes how to set up the crafts if you do those, or how to create the different food items that you're going to make. So it's a very detailed, tells you everything you need to know guide, which is one of my favorite things. Something else that I really like are the books that are included. That's another favorite I have with Sonlight, is I like using literature to help teach. And there are 3 different books that come with this guide. The first book is a nonfiction book on caterpillars and butterflies, and we did this for the first 2 weeks, reading just several pages each day, and then my son had some questions to answer on an activity sheet afterwards. Then we had 2 fiction books. One was about a girl who went with her class to a conservatory, and so we learned words like conservatory and migration. And then the last book we really enjoyed because it also had instructions at the end on how to do an origami butterfly, which the girl makes in the story. So really fun, engaging books that they had. My son loved all of them. So along with the instructor's guide and the books, the box for the unit study also includes materials that you will need for, like the lap book that your students can put together, different crafts on making the different stages of a butterfly. They have origami paper to make an origami butterfly, and then some different materials for other crafts as well. They obviously don't have any of the food products in there, and if you wanted to do the butterflies The live butterflies, like I mentioned, you're going to want to get those yourselves. Although they do have in there how to purchase those. And it does also come with a hamper to be able to put the chrysalis in. So then when the butterflies emerge, they can stay within the hamper instead of flying all over your house. I will say that was one thing we did have some difficulty with, was that hamper. We had to cover the top of it. And so it was a little bit tricky to figure that out, but it did work. Butterflies can be messy, so I would also cover the bottom of it with some newspaper and such, because it does get a little messy when they emerge. So there were a few activities in particular that my son really enjoyed. The first one was doing crafts on the different parts of the life cycle of the butterfly. So in the beginning, he made a caterpillar. There were some pom-poms and a clothespin, googly eyes, and like a pipe cleaner in the box. And he used that along with some glue that was included to create a caterpillar. And so he colored the clothespin with paint that we had at home. So there are a few things you may need to provide, like I think we had paint. There wasn't much. I do remember the paint was something that we did have to include, but there wasn't much that we had to add to most of these crafts that we did. But anyway, so the caterpillar, after he painted that, then we let it dry and he glued on pom-poms and the googly eyes, and we tied a little piece of the pipe cleaner for the antenna, and he really had fun kind of playing with that and moving that around. And then the next week we added a chrysalis to it, which was simply painting an empty toilet paper roll that we had. He painted it green. And so obviously we provided both of those materials. He did really enjoy putting the caterpillar in the chrysalis and just letting it sit there for a while, because by then the live caterpillars that we had ordered had arrived and they were starting to form their chrysalids as well. So he really enjoyed being able to do that himself with the crafts. And then finally, for the last part of that craft, he took that caterpillar and created a butterfly with it. And so we left the caterpillar as it was, but then he had a couple of coffee filters that were in the kit as well. And he used markers that we had at home to color them. And then we took a spray bottle of water and sprayed them to have the colors spread. And then once that was dry, we folded it into the wings of the butterfly, and we put those inside the clothespin. And so then he created the butterfly out of the caterpillar. So he really, really enjoyed that craft. So that was definitely a craft that was high on the list here at our home. Something else that he really enjoyed was toward the end of the study, and that was another butterfly craft. That one was creating a butterfly Suncatcher. Some of the activities he needed my help with, some he was able to do all on his own. And then finally, of course, the highlight of the entire unit study was raising the caterpillars at home. Like I said in the box, it does give you instructions on how to purchase. So when ours came, I actually, where I purchased mine, I found a 2-for-1 deal. So we actually got 2 containers of caterpillars. So we had 10, and we watched them get bigger and bigger and bigger as they ate the food that was included in the container. And then my son watched them form their chrysalids. Most of them we did miss throughout. A lot of it was in the evening when we were sleeping, but we did get to catch one live as it formed its chrysalis. So that was really cool to watch. And then we carefully took those. I did help with this part. We created the habitat with the hamper that was included in the kit. And like I said, we put newspaper on the bottom to keep it a little cleaner. And then we put the lids in that had the chrysalis on them. We put those in the hamper as well and covered it up. And I think it was about a week later, maybe a week and a half, the butterflies started emerging. And again, it was really quick. So we only got to watch one, but my son was very thrilled to be able to see the one. And then to wait for the weather to warm up, because we had a little bit of a cold spell right after they emerged, we kept them in our home in the hamper, and he got to watch them for a few days. And I made up a little mixture of sugar water and put it on a cotton ball, which was also information that I got out of the instructor's guide. And so we were able to keep them alive in there. And then finally, the favorite day of the whole study for my son was the day we got to let the butterflies go outside. So he absolutely loved that. We sat for I don't even know how long out there watching them come out and fly off. And there was one that took its time, and so he patiently waited until they were all out. But he was so excited because 2 of them actually walked onto his fingers. So I definitely recommend getting the live caterpillars if you are able to for this study. So as you can see, this is a really fun unit study for your children. It is perfect for spring or early summer. It's a great way to finish up your school year, or just for something fun to do after all of the hard learning through the year. It's a fun unit study to add in some creative writing, reading some really good literature. And then obviously the fun with creating snacks that look like butterflies and caterpillars, or creating crafts that go with the life cycle, and then obviously the butterflies themselves. So if you're looking for more information, I do share our unit study on my blog, so I will leave a link to that post below. And if you're looking to get your own unit study, which I highly recommend because it was a lot of fun, then you can find a link to Sonlight's unit study that we did in the description below as well. Thanks for watching, and happy homeschooling.